all of you sitting at home right now, listening to our voices here, if you have the determination and you have that passion that just lights up inside you brighter than any other fire you've got all around you, you're going to eventually make this work.
Welcome to the My Future Business Show, where we get you in front of your best audience and keep you there. Not only are we interviewing the biggest names in business to help you become even more successful, we're inviting you to book your spot on the show to help you grow your business. So at the end of the call, make sure you fill in the interview application form at myfuturebusiness.com/interviews. Hi, and welcome back to the My Future Business Show. My name's Rick Nuske, and welcome to the show that gets you in front of your best audience and keeps you there. Now, on today's call, I'm on the line with Victoria Wieck. Welcome to the show, Victoria.
Thank you for having me. So great to be here.
Yes, absolutely. My pleasure. You and I were just talking a little bit about our backgrounds and surnames and things like that, just leading up to the call. And for everybody on the call today, if you love jewellery, if you love jewellery design, you love business, you want to learn about how to be successful in this field, and I think you're on the right call today because Victoria is going to share a lot about that. We're going to take a deep dive into her experience. In actual fact, there's a lot to unpack here. But before we do any of that, Victoria, I'd love to learn, firstly, where you're located.
Oh, I'm actually today calling in from Del Mar, California.
Mm-hmm.
Now, you're in Australia, right?
I am. I most certainly
great.
am.
Yeah,
I'm right near McLaren Vale, which is a pretty well-known wine region in Australia. Now, are you transient? Do you get around a fair bit?
Yes, I have traveled for my business, I think 35 or 40 countries, several million miles. Obviously, with COVID, I haven't traveled a lot, but I actually live in more than one state because I have businesses, in different parts of the country in the United States of America. So yes, I do. I'm looking forward to traveling specifically to get down to Australia and New Zealand. That's the only place I really haven't been. That's on my bucket list.
Oh yes.
So
yes. Well, look, the door is absolutely always open for you when you do arrive, because I'm sure you will love it. It's certainly an opportunity to open some more doors and create some more connections down south, as it were. Now, when you are not working, do you actually ever get any time to relax? And if you do you have any hobbies? Do you like watching movies? What's your thing in your downtime?
Yeah, so actually I started my business based on my hobby, which is jewelry design. And so I still do a lot of sketching. I love sketching. I'm here in San Diego where things are just blooming all the time, where we are. So I love to paint landscapes and so forth. I love classical music. I play classical music. I love to go to Sydney Opera House. It's one of my bucket list things. I spend a lot of time with my family. I started my business to spend time with them. So it's one of the few businesses that went from zero to $500 million in sales, which was completely designed around their schedule.
Oh.
So, I'm a mom of two and come from a culture, in Asian culture, mom's very present. So basically I was forced to look for distribution outside of the United States because of I took advantage of the time zones here. So for example, like 5, 6 a.m. California time was, 8, 9 a.m. New York.
Yes.
And it's like UK time, it's, like midday. So I basically worked a couple of hours before I drove my kids off to school. Then I worked all that time for California time. And then, by the time they got off school at 2 o'clock, I spent 2 to 5 to 6 p.m. with them, 100%. I did all their activities. Then 6 p.m. California time is 10 a.m. Hong Kong, 11 a.m. South Korea. So I had all the distribution in Asia. So basically my business was really tooled around my family, and it hasn't really changed today.
And that is a wonderful thing because, you can always work more, but you can't get back time once it passed by with your family, can you?
Right. And I think my whole journey is really interesting because every single time, I came to a point in my life, I'm like, why am I working so hard? I started my business because when your business grows from nothing to 100,000, 200,000, it's hard, but it's manageable.
Yep.
But then when it gets over to $10 million, it can almost run you. because you're so busy, the stakes are so high, you feel like you have to be there for everything. So at some point, I was like, wait a minute, this is going the other way around. What's happening here?
Yeah.
So I had to retool. And every time I made that hard decision to say, you know what, I've had enough. And I need to just check out or do something else because I refuse to have my businesses, my customers, my banks, or whatever run my life.
Yeah.
So every time I did it, my business like quadrupled, basically. So, for example, when I was at a TV station at HSN, which is like at the time it was second largest TV station. Now it's a part of QVC HSN.
Yep.
When my contract was up, I just told them, my business was like at the high. It was like $25-50 million a year at the high. And they were almost getting to the point where they wanted me to come every month and, 7 days a month. And then I was traveling to their sister network in Japan. I mean, just on and on. And I thought, you know what? I can't do this anymore. So crazy. I told them, look, I want to retire. I don't want to work anymore. And they were like, well, wait a minute. You can't do that. And I said, well, yes, I really can. Vendors can quit. Designers can quit. The people can quit. Trust me. So they basically came back and said, you know what is it that you don't really like about your work? I mean, we really would love to have you, a little bit of you than nothing. So they came up with an idea where they were going to do the production. They're going to do, all these other things and just left me doing just what I love to do, which is sketch, go on TV, share my story. So I didn't have all the operational things that I had to deal with.
Yeah.
And then since I was only doing what I love to do, my business just exploded again.
Off. Yeah.
So every time I try to quit, my business grew, like 200-400% involuntarily.
Wow.
So
what a good problem to have.
Yeah, it was a really good problem. And now my daughter is 28 and, she's pregnant now. She went through. So basically I quit my, even then I did pull the plug and say, okay, you know what? When my last contract was up, I said, I'm not going to renew this.
Yeah.
I need to, just do some other things. So I did. I left. I wrote a science fiction novel. And, it was a lot of fun. I got it out of the system. And everybody says, first-time authors' books suck. So I said, okay, well, I'm not going to buck the trend. I'm going to just understand it sucks. So I'm going to get my first book out as soon as possible so I can get to my second book, right?
Yes.
So then I wrote the second book, which is the $1 Million Hobbies. And that is the podcast that I host. And I've had some crazy, interesting guests on it. They're just amazing. They have compelling stories, just chill, wonderful people that I've known for years.
Yep.
So I'm having, a lot of fun with that. But yeah, listening, your audience, I think, I don't want to, I come from a really humble background, as you might have guessed from my bio. I never forgot where I came from. And when we are on TV building this, I've sold over 15 million pieces of jewelry on TV. Oh, wow. So when you build this kind of relationship with the audience where you have a cult following, you can't be all about you. You got to be all about the audience, right? So what I'm trying to say here is that, I'm here to share my experience with your audience to not only to inspire them, it's not about, hey, I accomplished amazing things. I'm here telling you a lot of the things that I've done. I mean, I just prioritized my family, my life, and the business came.
And designed it around it. And you can too. All of you sitting at home right now listening to our voices here, if you have the determination and you have that passion that just lights up inside you brighter than any other fire you've got all around you, you're going to eventually make this work. Yeah. And
it's very rewarding. And, I get into I do have an MBA. I was told you got the fastest way to success is, go get multiple degrees, go to whatever. They have a path.
Yes.
I did it. I was suffocating.
Oh, you can imagine.
Yeah, I was suffocating because, you have a creative person stuck in a box. And, I was working for a jewelry company and I'm designing beautiful things. And then some CMO or CFO who doesn't understand jewelry or women or consumers would sit there and go, you know what, I can't fund this. So you're going to have to do X, Y, Z. And he doesn't know a thing about, what women want. Mm-hmm. So I was just like suffocating. So, I took a leap of faith. But the other thing I want to say to whoever is listening, all of you who are listening, is there's no guarantee in life except failure. You are going to fail. You are going to fail. Okay, there's no question.
I was going to ask you about that, Victoria. What have you actually learnt from failure? What's the biggest takeaway, do you think?
I think I failed a lot because I started my business with just like really desperation, with no money, no mentors, no nothing, no connections. So you can imagine you fail a lot, and when you do, you feel like you want to quit, and you self-doubt seeps in, and you're like, okay, well, you know what? That was really stupid. Like, a lot of smart people fail in business. What made me think that I was going to succeed? So, all these things come into play, all the experts that tell you, So what happens is when you fail, everything that I've ever failed in my life, they caused my success. So smaller failures lead to bigger successes. The only problem a lot of people have is when you have a small failure, you focus on the failure and you go, you know what? I tried this whole new collection. It was a bomb, so I'm just not going to ever, do any flowers anymore because it didn't sell.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Well, I would sit there and go, you know what? I love flowers. Women love flowers. Everybody loves flowers. So what was it? Yeah. What was it why didn't it sell?
Yeah.
Well, if you can figure that out, you basically end up making a better collection. So what I preach is that the things that are absolutely certain in life is you will fail at something at some point, even if you think you're perfect. Most of us are not. Okay?
No, absolutely not.
So when you fail, don't try to have a fall back position. Try to have a fall forward position. So it's an art of learning to fall forward. When you learn to ski, they tell you to fall forward. Yep. Don't fall back, because when you fall back, you die. You fall forward, you get up, right? Yep. So what is the fall forward nugget from every failure? Because, all the failures I've ever faced, eventually they shaped who I am. They made me a better person. They made me a better businesswoman. They made me make decisions that are smarter, faster. And so you can count on failures, but you got to manage them.
Yeah.
So I think that's, and the other thing I want to say to a lot of the people that are listening too is, sorry, somebody doesn't realize I am on TV. So it happens a lot. I have a live show. Sometimes, my daughter is calling me, Mom, where are you? Like
it happens more often than you'd like to expect.
Yeah. So I lost my train of thought, but if you think about I don't know, but I hope things are better in Australia than it is in America, because in America we're at sort of like an expert-driven society. Mm-hmm. So experts go on TV, they tell you, they predict all these things, and they tell you all these wonderful things about what they know and in their expert opinion. Yep. Okay. For example, back in the 80s, I'm old enough to remember the 80s. Everybody was telling us what stocks to buy, what .com stock, all the .com boom. Remember the .com boom?
Oh, certainly do.
Okay. So even as these companies were making no money, they were losing their shirt. They were always telling us which .com stock to buy. Yep. Well, guess what? It all led to the .bomb. Yep. Right? Yep. It became a .bomb disaster. The real estate, business where you just buy a house, paint, and you flip it over, there was no value in it. And we ended up with cities full of, Las Vegas, I have my second home there. I have a broker friend who used to get like a $3 check for commissions for selling a house. That is how low these prices were.
Yeah, wow.
So don't stake your future on an expert. Stake your future on what you know, who you are. And Americans hate perfect people. That's I learned that. Americans don't want perfect people, all right? Nothing against pretty perfect people. Yep. But Americans don't want perfect people with perfect lives preaching or teaching to them about what you should do. Americans love people who are imperfect, flawed people who don't have a whole lot, who's trying their hardest. That's who they root for.
Yeah, absolutely.
So if you fit that description, if you fit that, hey, you know what? I'm not perfect. I mean, I have glaring weaknesses, but I'm trying my best. I'm working on these things, and even though I'm imperfect, I am really, really good at this one thing.
Yeah.
You know, that's a great formula for small business to succeed. So, you know, I don't want anyone to think like I'm here bragging about myself. It's
no, but
really
you should actually give yourself some credit, because you've achieved some incredible things. And, you know, at the end of the day, this is where the value for this show comes in, Victoria, because you're sharing your wealth of knowledge, and you can't buy experience. So I'm loving the call. Thank you very much for opening the door.
Thank you. Yeah. Yeah, go ahead. You can ask me a question.
No, well, I did have a question, actually, in terms of, you know, we always see the success, we see the shiny side of things, but do you ever have any downtimes emotionally, psychologically, and what did you do when you went through those times? What sort of nuggets could you share with us there to rebound?
Yeah, so, you know, it's interesting because I'm actually, in my book that I'm writing, this was a very hard portion of the book because it is very emotional. And, you know, when you have these down times, I got to the point where it was so depressing, so hopeless, that I thought, you know, my dad used to say, America is the promised land. You know, that's where all the dreams come true. Yep. And I used to tell him, you know, all the dreams that you talked about was just that. It was just a dream. It's never going to come to reality. But I actually hung on to hope because I had no other choice. You know, there was nothing else to fall forward, far back to. I had no other choice but to hold on to the tiniest little thing that what if this could come true.
Yeah.
So the fact that I grew up, you know, in East Los Angeles, where back in, you know, I moved from like a very idyllic, like almost like what we would see in Australia, you know, on a little island on a beach. And I come to America and there were like barbed wires and, you know, gunfights and stuff like that at my school, which I'd never seen before.
Major contrast.
It was really scary. But I think that when the times when I failed and I feel like, okay, you know, my business went pretty well and then it would just stop. Mm-hmm. And then I would go, okay, well, maybe I bucked the trend. Maybe I beat the small business failure rate of 75% in the first 2 years by a year. Maybe this is my year. It's my third year. Maybe I just got a delayed failure coming in. So, you know, you start thinking about this way. But then, you know what? I said to myself, okay, God didn't put me on earth so I could work this hard, come this far, just to starve and to be desperate and destitute. I refuse to do this. Yeah. So I'm going to have to give it one more try. And I'm a huge fan of collecting quotes from people that had accomplished great things.
Yep.
And so if you look at like Thomas Edison's journey, and he talks about his failure, because I'm an avid reader, you know, and he tried his experiment 1,000 times. He failed 1,000 times. The 1,001st experiment ended up with the light bulb.
Yep.
So how great is that,
changing.
Right?
Yeah, absolutely.
So if you look at these people that accomplished great things, I mean, Galileo was like hunted down by the government because they thought this guy was absolutely cuckoo. You know, he was literally like minutes before being skinned alive. So you know, it's very dramatic examples of it, but I had to hang on to these kinds of the far, far what ifs, because I had nobody like you or me telling people, look, this is normal. Failure is normal. Plan that into your business plan.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
It's like,
yeah.
So it's normal.
Sage
There's nothing wrong with you.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, the other thing too is, I mean, look at what happened in the year 2020. Okay. You could have done everything right. I mean, you could have had a Harvard MBA, you could have a thriving business. Well, COVID wasn't your fault, right?
No.
So some failures are not your fault. Some failures are your fault, but either way, the lesson there is creative entrepreneurs, persistent entrepreneurs, people who love their passion, find a way to innovate, elevate, amplify. And, I'm not a big buzzword person. I like, in all my writings and everything, I try to make it so that no one has to ever look up a dictionary word.
Simplify.
Simplify, because, every time somebody has to look up a dictionary word, it's an opportunity for you to lose your audience.
Of course.
So, but I will say that, I think the more struggles that I had, all of the struggles I've had, including not being able to speak English, to, just not understanding the culture, because not understanding the acceptable norm actually helped me a lot. I just didn't even see what the norm is. In many cases, I would just, for example, when I got into the jewelry business, for many of you who are jewelry fans, a lot of the women actually love jewelry. Almost every woman loves jewelry. When I got into the business, I worked in a chain manufacturer, and they would say, okay, well, our inventory is 18-inch, 20-inch, 24 inches, and 30 inches. There were standard lengths of necklaces. It still is today in a lot of places around the world, okay? I said, well, why 18, 20, 24, and 30? Yep. Well, we've always done it this way. I said, well, do you realize that 80% of American women actually would look better in a 17-inch necklace? Uh-huh. Because it lands like right on your neck. Or 16 and a half, 17 inches actually is the better length. They're like, no, we don't want that inventory, blah, blah, blah. And I said, well, that's your inventory problem, but the customers will look better. You're leaving out all the 16-year-olds who have a 15-inch neck.
And different trends.
And that's your future customer, right?
Yeah.
So I convinced my boss to do the 16-inch necklace. I got 15 and a half, 17, those odd sizes. They were 25% of his total business at some point. Bracelets were always ordered in size 7-inch bracelet, okay? Yep. So I said to him, in my family, no one can wear a size 7. All the Asian side of the family were size 6.5. All the Caucasian side of the family were size 8. So why are you offering only the one size that nobody can wear?
It doesn't fit all, does it?
No. So I convinced him to offer like 6.5, 7, 7.5, 8, 8.5. And that was 50% of his total bracelet business, because he had all the market around the world.
Yep.
So just by not accepting the norm, and also being customer centric, I was always customer centric. So like when I go on TV, and you're gonna really like this because you're like live streaming, and this is a nugget made probably for everybody who's podcasting. I get all the podcasters, I get a lot of keynote speech requests for this because of my relationship with my TV audience.
Yep.
So when I go on TV, we will have a jewelry day. And so I have I would follow other jewelry designers before me. And they would go on, talk about, I designed this wonderful necklace and I was wearing this and I was next to, so-and-so on a yacht and, everybody complimented me. It's great. And, it's so-and-so. This is one avenue, I guess you can talk about. What I do is I go on TV. So I go on, instead of saying I designed this and I love this and I love the spring colors and I love the pastels and I love crickets, whatever. And I designed this wonderful, lovely collection for you. So I don't do that. I have like a 5-to-1 ratio, because I believe that the most powerful word in marketing is not free and it's not new and improved. That word is the word you, Y-O-U. So when I go on TV, I would say something like, oh my God, I didn't realize it's already spring, but guess what? During COVID, it inspired me to design all these wonderful things, around nature, reminded me more about nature. And I know you're going to love it, because when you go out to live your life again with your family, with your friends, and go back to your work, where you're going to be connecting with all these people, having a great old time, everyone's going to be looking at your new collection.
It's you.
And yeah, and you know what? It's going to make all the people who know you know that you got a pretty good bargain, because if those people who know you know that you know how to shop. So here it's going to make you look fabulous. You're glowing. People are just drooling over you, and they know you got a smart buy. How great is that?
Awesome.
So when you talk like this versus I was on a yacht and, I was with next to so-and-so.
Yeah.
So I think that Now, on TV, I mean, I gave you kind of like a drastic example of the two.
That makes sense.
But when they're hearing it, especially like at Christmas time, I'll do a design. I usually have a theme. It's like family, friends, and faith. And because when we brand a show, family, friends, and faith, that tells you the jewelry you're about to see are things that have heirloom quality, things that have more meaning, but not expensive and ostentatious, because you wouldn't be ostentatious to your friends and your family, right? So it's a lower price point. So it's just a subtle way of branding it this way. But also, when I talk to them and I say, you know what, if you got grandchildren coming in, what a wonderful way to show your personality. Because when you're not here on earth anymore, at some point, they're going to remember you for that, your personality, what was, meaningful to you, all that. So it makes your talking points easier. It also puts you in their living room.
Yeah.
It's almost like, hey, you're the designer, you're in their living room already. And I start my show usually with, thank you for inviting me to your living room. So I guess when you're starting a small business, and you are not on TV, most people are not. If you have a web page, all of your marketing materials need to be customer centric. It's about them.
Yep.
And I think if you're, my show, the $1 Million Hobbies, is about starting a business based on your passion. And I talk about, instead of saying, how can I make money on this? And, there's all these buzzwords like, how can I monetize this or whatever? Okay, well,
I'm quite familiar with them.
I have an MBA, and I that's one thing I learned is all the buzzwords.
Yep.
So, by the way, I've had to unlearn my MBA in order to start my business.
Just to actually succeed.
I had to unlearn it. It was like really something else, and I'll give you an example in a minute. But when you start your business, I tell people, think about what business you're in. Think about why your product even need to exist. Is it solving a problem? Is it, helping somebody save money or time? Is it helping somebody prevent a problem in the future? Is it helping them feel better? I mean, why are you there?
Yeah.
Because if you're just concerned about like how much money can I make, then you end up with a choppy marketing message.
Yeah.
Because you're always looking for the shiny green buzzword that doesn't connect with anybody, right?
Absolutely.
So, think about truly, even things like negotiating. I talk about how you almost have to negotiate for your customer, for their best interest. That's how you become, because you and your customer are tied, right?
And they won't even know that, will they? So can I ask you about the book itself? Is it a long read? How does somebody go through it? And ultimately, I guess the next question is going to be, where are they going to get it?
It's not out yet.
Right.
It's interesting because I always thought I would self-publish the book. The science fiction, I thought I would always get like a big publisher to publish it because it takes money to do a movie and all that. So, the how-to, I thought I was going to just publish it myself, and because I have a huge following. And what happened was, you guys, I'm just being really candid with you. So what happened was I had the whole marketing plan. I had a landing page, all this stuff done on my website, and I was promoting the upcoming book. And then I went into this like Meet the Agents event. And these were highly curated, like super duper agents, like movers and shakers. They were all in one place, and I was able to meet them. And I thought, I'm going to self-publish it, but I'm always a learner. I'm always interested in learning. I have this undying curiosity about things.
You're hungry for it.
So I thought, you know what? I'm going to participate in that. I'm going to pitch my book. And so there were 11 agents. And when I pitched my book, I told them, I said, look, I'm not trying to sell the book. I'm trying to improve the book. So can you guys just give me your professional feedback on the title of the book, the subtitle, the cover, because I had already designed the cover. Mm-hmm. And so I didn't think about selling it, And then what happened was all 11 agents, they were like, you know what, we could sell it today. Like I could sell it now. Your book is it's just like a no-brainer. I could sell it. It's so well proposed, and the concepts are the money, and your story is just astonishing, right? So then I thought, okay, well, it just, I'm not sure. But then two of them said, we can get you an advance for the book.
Oh.
So I thought, well, if I'm getting paid to sit out, maybe I will sit out. So that's a no-brainer. So the next question was, how much? Because I have a killer market. If you ever want to write a book, Rick, I can tell you, I got a killer plan for this.
Awesome.
So basically, I'm now waiting for the publisher to get back to me with the money deal.
Yep.
But they can go to multimillion-dollar-hobbies.com and sign up for the book.
Excellent.
And the book is really not written to make money so much, but and I hate to I don't want anyone to
misinterpret what you're trying to say. No,
misinterpret what I'm saying.
I'm loving it.
But what I'm saying is that I'm not Oprah Winfrey. I'm not Michelle Obama. I'm not anybody that successful. But in my own journey, where my dream in the beginning was just to be able to own my own car, like a beat up old car, and just be able to exist in the world. Mm-hmm. From that dream to building a $500 million business where I never, ever, ever, ever have to worry about money.
Yeah.
And I haven't had to worry about money for a couple of decades now, because I also live very, very low, well below my means. Okay. I live with no debt.
What's the word? Frugally?
Not necessarily frugally, but I don't buy anything I can't afford.
Not too exorbitant. Yep.
Nothing exorbitant.
I love it. I love the balance.
And when you come to my home, it is a very nice home, really nice neighborhood, but I don't have anything so nice that my husband is, he's also very humble, and he said he wouldn't let me buy anything really nice for furniture. And I said, well, we earned it, and it's not that ostentatious. And he says to me, when people come to your home, you want them to be comfortable. You don't want them to think oh my God, can I sit here? It's so nice. Yep. Can I sit here? He also said,
touch the white leather.
Yeah. He said, you don't want people to think we are so successful that it makes them feel bad. So he said, when people come to my home and they leave, we want them to feel a little bit sorry for us. So it's true.
Oh, wow.
It's true.
I wouldn't have expected that in a million years.
Yes. So he went, he went to fancy school, and all his friends, when we go to reunion and stuff, they're like, well, what do you do? And we're standing there. We're the only people with nothing fancy, which is very simple. And he would say, well, we're sort of gainfully unemployed or something. Gainfully unemployed. Because we're not really employed by someone.
Yeah, I understand.
But we're gainfully employed. So it's kind of a fine word, but they feel sorry for you, because then they come to our house and we don't have anything fancy. I mean, we have nice things, but we're not
Yeah, no.
So he wants everybody to feel sorry for us. So what happens is they go, and we end up with last time we were his reunion, I ended up with free tickets to Deer Valley, free tickets to the box seats for the Boston Red Sox playoffs. I mean, these people felt sorry for us. And I said I feel terrible now. I feel like I'm getting...
Oh, you should. Look, I think, in closing, I just have to say, Victoria, that your humble nature, your husband's humble nature, your conservative almost approach to living life and serving others shines through. It is an absolute credit to you. Now, if I can just ask you in closing to share, you have two websites, and I know that you are on a number of others. If you wouldn't mind sharing those domains where people can find you.
Yeah, so you can go to www.victoriawieck.com, Wieck, and it tells you all about my whole wide world.
Fantastic.
And then the multimillion-dollar-hobbies.com, it's all about the podcast. And by the way, anybody who wants to be on my podcast, you don't have to be famous, you don't have to be super successful. Mm-hmm. You just have to be somebody extremely passionate. They can come on my show. There's an application form. They can fill them out. And I just, so what I was telling you earlier was that now I'm really working on my legacy of empowering, educating. And when I come on a show like this, I don't want to just talk about what I've accomplished or just to inspire you and encourage you. I want you to take action. I want you to go home today and think, oh my God, I'm a big person about the one thing you can do today. So what is the one thing I can do today to cause another action tomorrow? because everything starts with one action. Just believing you can do it doesn't do anything. You got to do something, one thing.
Absolutely.
And that one thing could be writing down, clarifying your dream. That one thing could be evaluating, reprioritizing how you're going to spend the rest of your life post-COVID, right?
Yep.
So, think about the one thing you can do today, because that would have been worth my time, your time, and all of our listeners' time. I think that, so...
What a summary. What a wrap up of a wonderful call. It's just been an absolute gem. I've really enjoyed it. And I know full well, Victoria, that those individuals, the entrepreneurs, the small business owners that have been listening to this particular episode have their pen in hand. They're busy writing down notes. Your successes are a credit to you. And in closing, thank you so very much for joining me on the My Future Business Show today.
Thank you.
Thanks for joining us today. If you enjoyed the call, then make sure to subscribe, leave a comment, share us with your friends, and book your spot on the show at myfuturebusiness.com/interviews. And if you're looking for solutions that will help grow your business, then visit myfuturebusiness.com/shop.